Our NBA analyst, Jevohn Shepherd, and I are going no ties for this discussion about Game 4, the Western Conference Final in the NBA, in which the Minnesota Timberwolves won what Kyrie Irving said before the game was Minnesota's Super Bowl. So I guess Minnesota won the Super Bowl. How'd they pull it off?
I guess so. I think this was a marathon. This was a relay because Anthony Edwards, he was a man on a mission tonight. And I think, first, I got to give him a little credit because for 22 years old, the fact that he goes out there and not only leads his team in scoring, but the passion that he plays with, the intensity. He's made so much strides in terms of how he plays the game, his maturity, his approach to the game, reading defenses. I actually think we're looking at a future Hall of Famer right now, right? So I've got to give him that, kudos there. But how they did it was both he and Karl Towns stepped up and said, we're not going home today. We're not getting swept. And Karl Anthony made some boneheaded plays, but I thought in that fourth quarter when he came back in, right, he hit some tough shots from three, made some difficult plays. There was a pass to Gobert, that was a great one, big to big exchange there. And I think for him, he's got to be a bit more consistent because his team needs him. Mm-hmm. And a number of those shots that he made, great that they dropped, but there were also shots that as a teammate, as coaching staff, you're on the side and you're saying, Cat, no, great shot if it goes. Right, so you need a bit more consistency out of him. He's been, pretty lackluster this entire series. Yeah. For a guy that's been in the league so long, you expect a little more. But, Ant Edwards, he stepped up, flirted with a triple-double, 29, 10, and 9 tonight, and I thought that was exceptional. So both those guys, if you're going into the next game, and again, your back's against the wall, who are you going to be? And I think these games really reveal character, and it said a lot about Anthony Edwards tonight.
So they have a chance to win the next game? They have a chance to make it a 3-2 series?
They have a chance. But first it's going to start on the defensive end. And really, you've got to control Dallas, right? You can't allow Luka, you can't allow Kyrie to just turn the corners and get into the paint because when they get there, they're so tough to stop, right? Those guys get downhill. They make plays for their team. Luka, when he gets into the ball screens and keeps that his defender on his backside, now you're playing 5-on-4, right? He kicks it out to the other side. You're playing 4. You have Kyrie, who's arguably the most skilled player to ever play this game. Now he's playing 4-on-3 and 3-on-2. So defensively, their emphasis has to be on that side. The focus has to be on that side. And then offensively, if you can manufacture some offense from your defense, that is great. But Cat has to show up. He has to show up.
And then you get Boston waiting over in the East. They've already swept Indiana. They're hanging out. They've got like 9 days before the NBA Finals begins that they get to just rest. And we were talking about it before we did this interview. Kristaps Porzingis gets to rest. He's been injured. Do either of these teams, Minnesota or Dallas, even pose a threat to Boston?
I think they do. My favorite to actually win the championship is coming out of the West side, whether it's Dallas, whether it's Minnesota. But I think for Boston right now, it's great that they're going to have time off. But it's also dangerous in a sense because you're out of rhythm, right? You have to ramp it back up to that level of intensity that these guys are playing in the West right now. I think the luxury for Boston is the fact that you get to work with Porzingis and get him back into rhythm. You didn't have to bring him back early. You get some practices so he can get that first sweat. And a lot of times, guys that are off for a period of time, they need to get that second wind. They need to get rhythm, especially a guy that's playing inside, outside. There's rhythm. There's timing that he has to catch up to. So for them, that's the biggest luxury, but it's going to be tough, especially if the Western side goes a little further. They're already going to be in rhythm. They're already going to be adapted to this level of intensity.
Yep. So Game 5 of the Western Conference Final will be Thursday, and then a week later, exactly a week later, that's when the NBA Finals will begin, no matter who's in it. Boston will be the opponent coming out of the East. Jevohn Shepherd, always a pleasure.
Appreciate you.